and you reducing the amount of revenue coming into your country will not help the country. And ultimately, universities and colleges will be reaching out to the government to say, hey, we don't have enough money, please help us. And then the government use the taxpayers' money to give the universities to survive when they literally have a revenue source that they stopped to come into the country. Now tell me, if they are going to stop the one set of people who bring in money into the country, you think that's going to last for very long? Absolutely not. Hi. Welcome back to the channel. So what I'm going to talk about today is all things about the new regulations, the cap on international students, and all these new immigration rules that has came about. Now, in general, putting a cap on the number of international students and that being the only set of people who they are targeting, it does draw some questions as to why they are only targeting international students, because persons coming in the country, yes, if more people keep coming into the country, it would mean that the country cannot manage to sustain housing for so many people. True. But at the same time, international students are not the only people who are coming into Canada. So that is why it's sad that they are only targeting international students, and that is why it is such a huge reduction, because they're only targeting one set of people. Now, first of all, what I should have said is, if you know nothing about this, if you don't know what is happening in Canada right now, Canada has imposed a cap on the number of international students that can come into Canada. And basically they are reducing it by about 35% of the number of people who they usually accept into the country. This will directly affect persons who wants to come into the country as an international student. It doesn't affect anybody else. And yes, it's unfair. I'm going to say it is unfair. Why target only one group of people? There are so many people. But I am here to tell you that there's no way this will be something long term. Why I'm saying that is because international student brings in a lot of money into the country. International student is the only pathway where coming into the country, you have to be bringing a large sum of money. Once you come into the country, literally a couple days after you reach into the country, and for many people, many people, it's before they even come into the country that they have sent thousands of dollars to Canada. And I'm talking about one individual alone sending approximately $20,000 to Canada in Canadian dollars. And they are going to reduce it by 150,000 approximately. If they reduce international student by that many people, just multiply 150,000 people multiplied by $20,000 and tell me how much you get. That's the amount they are reducing per year. And then the following year, it's going to be the same thing. This is a huge financial struggle on every single university and college that accepts international students, and this will not be sustainable. So if you were worried and saying this cap is going to affect you significantly and it's going to do this, that, they are not going to have this rule for very long. So if they are going to try to reduce housing crisis by limited international students, that will not happen. Even if it's in effect now, just know that over time they are going to eliminate this rule. It will not last. This is because let's say it lasts. 150,000 people you are going to reduce from coming to the country. 150,000 people you're going to reduce from coming into the country, and these are the people bringing in money, and every other person who comes in as an immigrant does not bring in any money into the country. Now tell me, if they are going to stop the one set of people who bring in money into the country, you think that's going to last for very long? Absolutely not. First of all, universities and colleges got accustomed to making these large sums of money from international students. And yes, it was already unfair to international students, and it has been unfair for a very long time for international students, a very long time, because of the kind of money that you pay. You are paying 3 times the amount more than what a domestic student, a student that lives here, pays. You are paying 3 times that amount. That's the first unfair advantage. And you get absolutely nothing more than domestic students. As a matter of fact, you get way less things as an international student in Canada versus a domestic student. And you pay way more tuition. So I'm telling you, this will not be a long-term thing. So and it's going to be 2 ways. And in terms of person's thought, you're going to have many different thoughts. You're going to have people who is like, hey, this is my dream, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it no matter what. And then you're going to have the iffy people who is like, well, here's a new rule, that's it, I'm not going to try again, whatever. You're going to have both situations. So if you are worried about the rule and you still want to come Canada, it's still going to happen for you. Don't worry yourself. This rule will not keep going. I'm telling you that. They won't. Let's say they keep the rule. If they keep this rule, what it actually means for the country is that universities and colleges will have to go to the government and go and tell the government that they don't have enough money to sustain their school. They won't have enough money to pay the salaries for their workers. So is it that the government going to pay out all these monies, which at the end of the day, I think, at the end of the day, listen, universities and colleges depend on international students' money. It's a lot of money. I'm wondering if they don't realize how much money they charge international students. And at the end of the day, it's like they don't realize how much money they get from international students, which is like, I don't know where the head is at. But the amount of money that they get from international students, when that money get reduced, I'm telling you that universities and colleges will suffer. They won't be able to pay salaries over time. And that is why I know that this will not be a maintainable solution. Now, I'm telling you that it would be way cheaper if the government sees if there's a housing crisis. What you need to do is to build more houses. That's my opinion. I'm free to speak my opinion. That's my opinion. If you have a housing crisis, build more house. But that's really the solution, and you reducing the amount of revenue coming into your country will not help the country. And ultimately, universities and colleges will be reaching out to the government to say, hey, we don't have enough money, please help us. And then the government use the taxpayers' money to give the universities to survive when they literally have a revenue source that they stopped to come into the country. What I'm supposed to be doing now is to go wash some dishes, because this whole thing, as I said, is just going to be temporary. Don't worry about all this drama, everybody talking about it. It's going to blow off, it's going to go away. It won't last for long, because universities and colleges will be reaching out to let them know how much international students' money goes towards building new infrastructure for the schools and all these things. And once people reach out to them and let them know all these things, they are going to either reverse the rule, or once the rule ends, which is in 2 years, I know it's a long time, but once the rule ends, then they will eliminate it, because it's a lot of money. They're just getting rid of all that money. There's no way they're going to maintain something like that, because international students is who brings in the money. So that's not going to last for long. And I know it's unfair. It's unfair on every single level. The amount of money, the fact that they're targeting international, everything is unfair, and I know that. But at the end of the day, you just have to know what you really want, and you just have to work towards it. And unfortunately, there is no perfect place. And if there is a perfect place, because I'm open to those suggestions, if there's a perfect place, you can let me know where that is. But not even heaven was perfect. Adam and Eve we're not perfect. So if heaven wasn't even perfect, I don't know where we'll be. So if you know about a perfect place, let me know. But for me, I don't know about any. So what I did is to weigh the pros and the cons of the countries that I can live in and decide which one I want to stay in. But that's all I have to say, to be honest about this. This will not last for very long. So, and in any case, they didn't say don't apply. They didn't tell you international students do not apply to come to Canada. They didn't say that. They said, oh, get this, that, all sorts of different things. They will let us add more rules, and that's what they did. They didn't say don't come. If you really want something in your life, you just gotta work towards it and just know what is your goal and look into the long-term goal. Don't look at tomorrow. Don't look at today. Look at 10 years from now, what your life would be. Don't look at today. Don't look at tomorrow. Don't look at even next year. Look at 10 years from now and see that life and see if Canada is worth it. That's what I did. 10 years from now, what life would you have in wherever you are now versus what life you can possibly have in another country? That's what I look into.